And now here's the conclusion of building better processes, where we're going to get into the 11 steps that you need to create a process map. Thanks. All right. So let's get into this real quick. 11 steps for creating a process map. Step 1, determine your goals, right? What is the reason for the process to exist? Right? So obviously, if we're going to just use that quoting process as an example, the reason for the process to exist is that our customer needs a quote, right? So the process is all about getting that customer the information he needs. So could this be done with a website? Could this be done automatically? Can we have a standard process where it's the same for everyone, right? Can we have, if we have price matrices, there's 4 of them or whatever, one for some guy that just walks us off the street and other ones for different tiers of people who spend money with us, right? So the reason for the process to exist kind of maps out what you're trying to do. So if your process is in receiving or the screen room or the art department, I want you to think about, what is the reason? What is the goal? What are we trying to do here? Right? So this is what we're really kind of mapping out. We're trying to figure out, what does success look like? So this is what we start with step 1. And a lot of this also has to do with timing. When is it due? It's due immediately. It's due tomorrow. It's due by the end of the week, whatever the process is in the different departments, right? So we want to map that out as well. Step 2 is, what are the outputs of the process? Right? So what is an output? An output can be physical and tangible, like a set of separations, or it could be intangible, like a decision. For example, using your lead generation process, is this going to be a good customer for us or not? That's not a physical thing. That's a decision. Part of your process could be to weigh, how do we validate and get better customers in our system? We have a process that we evaluate them, and that's how we kind of know who to talk to or who to send our newsletter to or whatever, right? So the outputs of the process can be physical and tangible, a quote, or intangible, like a decision, right? So that's kind of the output that we want to think about when we describe what a part of the process is. Step 3 is identifying the customer's process, right? And we have 2 types of customers. We can have an internal customer, which is like somebody on our team, and we can have an external customer, like, a customer, right? So an example for an internal customer is, after we create this quote, it becomes, guess what? It becomes a work order, right? So an internal customer could be purchasing because they got to buy the goods. Could be the art department because they got to create the separations. So if we don't have the SKU or the pricing that we chose because we picked a particular apparel distributor, or if we don't have the shirt color, or if we don't have the art files that the customer gave us, right, we're not doing a good job with people downstream from us. So we have to identify the customers that are in the process for what we're trying to achieve and what's the next step. So the external customers obviously are our customers. So if we're trying to build something like a quoting process, that is going to be our customer is the external customer, obviously, right? But we could also think about we have to buy the shirts, or we have to buy the ink, or we have to do something. Maybe we have to talk to a particular distributor, or do we have their pricing for all the shirts, for those jerseys, Island Yellow tees? Do we have the pricing for that? Right? So we need this information to really verify what's going on. Step 4 is identifying the process inputs, right? So this may be physical or in other forms like info or data, right? So the physical inputs, right, is really about, the information that, what our customer is telling us, right? It could be, they've got an example. They've got the file saved on a thumb drive, right? Or something, right? Could also be, maybe they've got an email that they sent us, and that's where we're getting our info and our data from. Maybe, just what are the inputs that we're getting, right? So if we don't know what the inputs are, we don't know how to ask for it. What do typical customers do? How do they typically give us the stuff, right? Is there a form they use? Is there a website? Can they click the thing? Where does the information come from? This is all about the inputs, right? So you want to identify them for the process. Step 5 is identifying the components of the process. So what are we talking about here? They can be any materials. It can be the energy, the machines we're using, the people we have, the print methodologies or whatever, the technology that we use. Maybe we have a website, right? What consumables are we using? This could be the emulsion on the screen. This could be the ink, could be the thread, could be all types of things, right? What are the components of the process that are going to make this thing work? So if we think to our quoting process, this could be our pricing matrices that we have. This could be our computer system that we're using. Could be our email that we have. Could be we had to go look something up on a apparel distributor's website, or check UPS or FedEx for the freight rate, right? There's a lot of stuff that we need that's a component of the process that serves what we're trying to build for the answer, right? So write all of those down. This is part of your process mapping, is writing all this stuff down. Step 6 is identifying the process suppliers, right? So internally, these are the people or groups that deliver the inputs or components to the process. Externally is companies or individuals that supply the organization with the input services or raw materials. So what am I talking about here? It sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, right? But internally, right, let's just think about a quoting process, right? People or groups that deliver the inputs, right? So this is customer service or sales. This is somebody set up their pricing matrices, right? Are they built correctly, right? Who is in charge of training you on the computer? Are our computer systems working, right? Do we have the right inputs? Do we get the right information? Do we, kind of know what we have with our internal stuff? Externally, it's the companies or individuals that supply us with stuff. So if you're talking with your apparel distributor, is their pricing updated all the time? So if you quote it today and they don't approve it till Friday, did the price just change? You got to update everything, right? And then, so how are you getting your information, right? So you need to really kind of understand all that, both inside and outside of your company, with how everything is working. And this is true with not just quoting, obviously, but this could be receiving, this could be production, this could be embroidery, this could be your art team, sales, whatever, right? Everybody has internal and external forces that kind of affect our process, right? So write these down for what you're trying to do. Step 7 is understanding the limits, right? These are the extreme points of the process for the beginning and the end. So when does the quote process start, right? It starts when? It starts when a customer contacts us, right? Or do we give them the quote? Or just automatically, hey, here's our pricing, just want to let you have it, right? This is what we'll do this typical job for, right? What is the extreme points of the process? What's the end point? When it turns into an order, right? So, and then what about other departments, right? Receiving. When do we start receiving? When do we end receiving? Burning a screen, printing a job, running an embroidery job, doing a heat press thing, creating some artwork, right? What's the beginning and what's the end? Step 8 is documentation of what we're currently doing. The easiest way to do that commonly is with a flow chart, okay, which is just step 1, step 2, step 3. These are different little boxes. An easy way of doing this is just simply write everything down, each step on a Post-it note, and then put them in order. right? And if you need to make a decision, turn that Post-it note from a square to a diamond. That indicates that you have to make a decision. Okay, it's a real easy trick to do it. You don't need any fancy software. You could also use index cards. You could just write things. Step 1 on one line of the yellow legal pad. Step 2 is the next line. Whatever works for you. You need to kind of map this out as to what you're doing from start to finish. How document everything along the way. How is it supposed to work? That's step 8, documentation. Step 9 is identifying improvements. So what isn't working as it should and needs to improve, right? So maybe the problem is the fact that you don't have good training in your quoting process because people missed some of these answers. Okay, so you need to have better training. That's not working as it should. So when should the training happen? And are you allowed to quote if you don't have the training? That type of stuff, right? So think about and look at your processes and think, hey, you know what? We need to improve it. We need to tweak it a little bit here. What do we need to do to make this better, right? And then you want to write that down and identify it. Step 10, we're almost there. Step 10 is choose improvements for the process, right? So PDCA stands for plan, do, check, act, which is also known as the Deming cycle. Earlier, I mentioned W. Edwards Deming, right? And plan, do, check, act. Okay, so you plan the work, you plan the improvement, you do the work, you check to make sure it's working, and then you act on it. You keep going, right? Plan, do, check, out. And then Kaizen, continuous improvement. Kaizen is all about meeting as a group, figuring out what's not working. We could do a whole nother presentation on that, but really it's about tweaking things and making things better. And just by setting up little experiments just to make things work. If they work, great. If they don't, what isn't working? And then you go back and try it again, right? So it's all about continuous improvement and making things better, right? So what are the improvements you need? And then let's get them going, right? So that's step 10. Step 11 is document the improvement process. So what happened? We want to measure what happened. Did you get some improvement? Yes. Did you get some improvement? No. What do we need to do? What's the next step, right? We want to measure the outcome of what we're trying to do, and we want to manage it so it's always better, it's always working, and we're paying attention to it, right? So there's an old axiom, I know you've heard it before, you can't manage what you don't measure. That's totally true. This is how you need to document things in improvement. And what's really great about this, if you're doing it, is you can look back this year, last year, the year before, whatever, and you could see steady improvement with things. This is how you drop your costs internally. This is how you train your people. You get more people trained, whatever. You manage this, you measure what you're doing, and you make it in a visual form so you can easily see it. All right. So improvement is the goal. And what we want to be doing is eliminating all of our friction points, all of our bottlenecks, and any landmines along the way. Okay, so anything that isn't really working, anything that you stub your toe on, let's get that cleaned up. Let's figure it out. How do we solve it? Don't just, go around it and keep doing things wrong because it's easier to do things wrong. Let's solve it by fixing our process, right? So that's my presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. I went really quickly through some stuff. If you have more questions or you need some help, you can reach me at marshall@marshallatkinson.com. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.